On today's episode, we're going to cover a topic we have never covered before. That's right, 600 plus episodes, and not once have we talked about originating loans, funding loans, helping people who are not U.S. citizens purchase property in the United States. That's foreign national lending. That's ITIN lending. That's even doing lending for certain people who are on certain visas that maybe don't qualify or aren't eligible for more traditional financing, such as FHA or conventional. This is a topic that, as an originator for 20 years, every realtor I ever talked to wanted to ask me about my foreign national product offering, whether they were Canadian, whether they were Venezuelan, whether they were from the UK. Well, we're going to unpack it today because I have a special guest joining me from one of the top non-QM lenders in the entire country. Whether you're a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, a loan originator, or maybe you are yourself someone who is living in the United States legally, but you don't qualify as a citizen, you don't have your green card, or maybe the type of visa you have isn't the visa that is accepted. How can you too have a piece of the American dream as a homeowner? That's what we're unpacking. This is a can't miss episode, regardless of where you are in your home buying journey or regardless of what type of mortgage loan originator you represent. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. We are in Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida. It is the Central Florida chapter of the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals, aka FAMP's annual trade show. My guest is here representing his company, but also being featured as a panelist. He is an expert in non-QM lending. He's a dad of three. He is a 25-year mortgage professional. He's also a veteran of the U.S. Army. He is my friend. He is the one, the only, from Fort Lauderdale by way of North Palm Beach with his chickens in his backyard.
That's right.
The one, the only Mike Pearson with AD Mortgage. Mike, welcome to TLOP.
Awesome to be here. Obviously very blessed to be in Orlando today. I like the theme. We've got some good 80s styling going on in here. So
I like that. Well, it's funny you said 80s, but it sounded like AD styling.
That was a turn of phrase.
Look, AD styling to me, if it was AD Mortgage, you're going to look more like downtown Moscow.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
That would be like my AD.
Nice.
But this is an 80s themed event. By the way, if you're tuned in on Spotify or Apple, you can't see this.
Oh,
but
sorry,
behind us is very 80s themed. They're bringing in a DeLorean. Mm-hmm. They have the MTV Space Guy. It's a really cool event. FAMP always throws good events, whether it's the Central Florida chapter or like the national, but the annual FAMP event. Mm-hmm. I said this earlier on another episode when I was shouting out FAMP. It's one of my favorite conferences. Their annual sales conference, the summer one. And it's not just for people in Florida.
Right.
Like
you say national, it's becoming national
it
for
is
sure.
becoming
it's
national.
huge.
I mean, it's the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals, aka FAMP. But when you go to their annual event, it is typically people coming in from all over the nation, and it rivals many national conferences. Sure. But no, you and I had a chance to connect at conferences like this, but I'm very grateful that you all invited me to come down to Fort Lauderdale, where AD Mortgage's headquarters is, right, where you all originated. And I had a chance to do content with your content team.
Right.
I had a chance to come speak to like 20 of your AEs. Yep. From what I heard, it didn't suck, right? So I appreciated that.
That was my team. That's good.
That was your team. I was a little worried too. And then since then, I've been able to do various webinars, not just for AD, but really for the clients that you serve.
Right.
And I'm excited that you and I had a chance to kind of run into each other this morning where I was like, hey, dude, I have a time slot available on the podcast. Because you all offer a product that, quite honestly, as an originator, I was never great at originating. And that's foreign national lending. That's ITIN lending. That's doing lending for people who are not legal citizens of the U.S. Right? They're here legally. Right? They're not here illegally. They're here legally, but they too want to own real estate. They too want to build wealth through real estate. And we want to be able to find a way to show them yes. Because if you're a realtor, it's how you sell more homes and make more money. If you're a loan officer, it's how you fund more loans and make more money. Or if you're a loan officer whose job is to help realtors sell more homes and make more money, knowing these products, partnering and delivering loans to companies like AD Mortgage is a way for you to help your realtors sell more homes, but at the same time yourself fund more loans so that we can make more money, invest more money. If you invest more money, you can tithe more money. If you tithe more money, you can leave your community better than you found it, right? That's kind of the goal of all things TLOP. And along the way, I think, Mike, we're going to get to know you a little bit, your experience.
All right.
I'm going to hit you with a couple questions at the end, like, hey, give me some advice that you wish was shared with you when you were graduating from Deltona High School back in 1996, but it wasn't.
Wolves.
Okay. Go Wolves. Yes. If you're not local to Central Florida, you have no idea what we're talking about. By the way, no offense, but we do refer to Deltona as Dirtona.
Fair enough.
I didn't make it up, right? But I'm guilty to sometimes throw that jab.
I think your high school was built on a Greyhound track.
It was,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
Look,
all right.
look, my high school was next to a racetrack. And yes, we did skip school back in the day, and we did go to the dog track.
Okay.
And
all right.
we were using our fake IDs to actually not buy beer, but to get in and gamble on both dog racing, simulcast horse racing.
Nice.
And at one point, if you went around the corner, they had highlight.
Oh,
and
highlight,
then we would actually do some highlight betting all in high school. So yes, you and I come from very similar backgrounds. So what you're saying is those that live in glass houses should not throw stones.
There you go.
All right, very cool. It's actually our producer extraordinaire, Special K, Karina Mojica. She's also from Deltona. So shout out to Special K, although she went to a rival high school. Nonetheless, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Let's do this.
All right.
We're going to jump into today's topic. We only have a certain amount of time. But before we do, let's pay some bills. And we're going to go ahead and hear from today's show sponsor. Check this out. Y'all, something big is happening at Lower Mortgage. And if you're paying attention to this industry, you've probably noticed. In just the last month alone, Lower has added some serious horsepower. We're talking top producers representing over $350 million in volume. These aren't rookies kicking tires. These are heavy hitters who've done their homework and made the move. That should tell you something. On top of that, Lower just acquired Movoto, a top 5 real estate portal with over 150 visitors just last year. Before that, they brought in Neat Labs, and now they're launching Lower OS, a next-gen mortgage platform that's cutting loan delivery times down to 10 days. This isn't a company standing still. Lower doubled their volume last year, and they're projecting another 40 to 50% growth this year. The best in the business are taking notice, and they're voting with their feet. Here's the reality. The companies that are going to win in this market are the ones investing in technology, building real infrastructure, and competing at scale. Lower is doing all of that. They're going head to head with the Rockets of the world, and they're built for originators, not against them. If you're a producer who wants to be a part of something that's actually going somewhere, not just surviving, but growing, this is the moment. Lower Mortgage, the momentum is real. Okay, so we're back. Knowing that we're talking about foreign national, ITIN, or other types of financing for people who are not legal residents of the U.S., where do you want to start? Knowing that your audience is primarily mortgage brokers and loan officers, what starting basic, and then we'll gradually move towards a little bit more like next level, right? If we're like, this is the varsity level, then we're going to go D1 level before we go to the pro level.
Right.
Just very basic. What do people need to know when it comes to foreign national or ITIN lending?
Well, the first thing, and you corrected yourself the last time, you just said not here legally. So we're not going to do anything for anybody that's not here legally. So they need,
correct. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So just that clarification, because I do get that question a lot, right? So, but
Yeah,
we
so just for to triple clarify.
Yeah.
If you have a client or you yourself are not in the United States legally, we ain't got nothing for you.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, no thank you, can't do it. Or if this was American Idol, that's a no for me, dog.
Right.
Okay.
But I do think people think that if they have a temporary visa, or they're able to come to the U.S., but for a short time frame and need to go back home, that maybe that they don't have options, and that's not the case.
Okay, so if you travel to and from the U.S. legally,
right,
or you just live in a foreign country, but you want to own real estate in the United States, this is how we help those people find their way to yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's a lot of money, and bringing more money into the economy is a great way to keep us all up and running. But there's a lot of foreign investment coming in. We have borrowers from all over the world, Canada, a lot from Canada, South America, Europe, Asia, that are investing in real estate in the United States. And we provide financing for those borrowers.
Okay, so let's start with those that we call foreign nationals,
Okay.
right? So a foreign national, correct me if I'm wrong, is someone who lives in a foreign country. They work in a foreign country.
Yep.
They travel to the U.S. sparingly, but they come to the U.S. and they
Right.
want to own real estate.
Correct.
You, well, not you individually, Mike, but your company, AD Mortgage, offers financing
We do.
to those people. What does that look like in terms of down payment, in terms of qualifying, the process? Like, educate us.
Sure. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when I've talked to other competitors, I talk to other people on the street, they tend to not understand the qualifications. How do we do that? So what's nice about A&D, well, first to your down payment point, 25 to 30% is usually what we're looking at, plus reserves. Right?
Okay.
So these are well-capitalized borrowers to begin with.
And you are verifying those assets.
We are, correct.
Even if they're in foreign currency.
Correct.
You're still going to verify those assets. And when you say reserves, what type of reserves are you looking for?
We're usually, like most non-QM programs, we're looking for a number of months reserves based on
6,
whatever
12,
that PITI.
18,
Correct.
depending on
Depending
various
on
factors.
loan sizes, what kind of documentation we're using, stuff like that. So what's unique about our program is we can do what we would call a full doc or a foreign income, where you can provide, reference letters from the other country or the other employer to be able to verify, almost like in a full doc sense.
Okay, yeah.
Usually they're not going to have tax returns and W-2s like we would have
Correct,
here.
but they have some form of
some source
documenting
of
their income.
Correct.
In some places you're translating, in some places you're not. Canada, the UK, Australia, South Africa, you're probably not translating.
Correct.
Everywhere else, there's probably some translation.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even that part in the past has been an issue, right? In the past, most companies have wanted like a certified translator, something like that. With the use of technology and AI, I mean, that's pretty easy to do online, and we can accept those sources for that.
Yeah, I would imagine you all at AD Mortgage are pretty tech forward.
We are. We spend a lot of time and investment in technology. It's funny. I'm going to get off topic here for a second, but
We love rabbit holes.
Okay, good, perfect. So this is a great one. So we just had a huge. We do a lot with the local universities, right? So like. We'll have classes come in. We have a nice facility, so they'll host a class in our building.
Like FAU, Barry.
FAU's been there.
Okay.
So Nova Southeastern
Yep.
University has
Okay.
been there. So they'll come in, and that's a common question the students will ask. Well, is AI, does that mean that you are letting people go because you're investing in AI and other technologies? And I always tell them that, that's the reason we've grown to where we are. Our hiring has increased because of that technology, not the other direction. So, no, we're not, using technology to get rid of humans. We're using that so that we can hire more humans and scale our business larger. So we're going the other direction. But to go back to your point, yes, using technology for translation, verifying documentation, being able to source and find information on those documents, that's been a huge part of where we're going to be able to streamline that for our customers.
Yeah, so I'm doing a loan for someone that lives full-time, works full-time down in South America, Canada, the UK, whatever.
Right.
I have an opportunity to do a full doc loan where I'm going to verify the assets, I'm going to verify the reserves. We know that when it comes to reserves, it depends, which, by the way, you might not know this, but we coach this, and it's almost like a TLOP-ism. The words "it depends" combined together are fantastic when talking to realtors and borrowers. It's some of the best two words sliced together that you can have, because so much of what we do is what depends.
It's conditional.
Let me get your documentation. Let me see if I can get an exception. Like, let me do some research.
Right.
And because there isn't a one size fits all. So you have a it depends moment on your end. But if I can document my income, I can document my assets. And I'm looking at that standpoint, what, a 25% down?
25% down is usually what we're looking at.
30-year fixed, or is it an ARM?
We do 30-year fixed.
You do?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of investors like that stability.
Yep.
Right. And the full doc is an option. Many borrowers find they can't produce the documentation or they can't get the letters. We can do a DSCR loan also, right? So they're investing.
Because no one's buying this as a primary home. Like, we know that because they legally don't have what it takes to buy this as a primary. So then you do have the opportunity to do it as a true DSCR.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that standpoint, you're still verifying assets, you're still verifying reserves.
Right.
But when it comes to income,
the property is the income.
The property is the income. So now all you need is the proposed rent on the appraisal to be at a high enough what do you call that ratio? A high enough ratio?
Yeah, debt service coverage ratio.
Yep.
Just a long way of saying the rent is your qualifying income in ratio to what your payment is going to be.
And is every foreign national loan you do an investment property, or some of them deemed second homes, or does it not matter?
That's we just changed that for certain borrowers because we have a lot. We're located in South Florida, so we have a lot of Canadian borrowers that are migrating. They need a second home, right?
Yep.
They spend a lot of time in South Florida. So in the past, we were doing everything as investment property. That becomes problematic when you're occupying the property, right? This is supposed to be a business purpose loan. You can't live there.
Yeah.
So that was difficult for some borrowers. So we've enhanced that. We now do second homes.
You
so
do.
Those borrowers can come in.
Is there? I'm not going to stick you to this because I know things change daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Is there a pricing advantage if I go second home versus investment property?
Today, there's really no difference.
Okay.
It just opens access for more borrowers for us. We're missing out on a whole group of potential clientele because of that.
And then total sidebar, but we recently did an episode all on HELOCs. We had Tom from Symmetry on, and just curious. I didn't ask this of Tom. I asked it of you though. Do you all do second liens for foreign nationals?
So we will do fixed rate second mortgages. We won't do that. You know what? That's what I'm gonna have to look at.
It depends.
I think we were and then we weren't. So yeah, I'm gonna use the cover of it depends, and I get you that information. Anyway,
Mike, when I was
I'll
a rookie,
be lying whether I make it one way or the other. So,
yeah, well, when I was a rookie LO, and I still teach this today, we have over 200 people that are in our coaching program. We're growing it to 600, by the way. So if you guys are interested in joining the industry's literally greatest number one value for business coaching and mortgage, check out what we're doing over at TLOP. Go to our website. It's tloponline.com. But the loan originators that I've either worked for me and I coached them, or now they're part of our coaching community and I coach them. They have heard me share this.
Right.
There's literally nothing wrong with telling someone, ma'am or sir, the guideline on that recently changed, and I get 300 emails every single day. I know I have an email on this, and I know I saved it. Let me go grab that email. Let me double check a couple things and get back to you. AKA, I have no freaking idea. You stumped me. Let me go do some research. I have great mentors and managers, or a great AE over at 80 Mortgage. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call Svetlana, and she's going to help me out. And we're going to walk through it.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got it. It's in my phone on the floor. I just didn't want to be rude and grab it. But
the answer's in my phone. Yeah, let me look it up. But yeah, no, it worked for me in 2004. It worked for the loan officers that I brought in the industry back in 2014. It worked for the LOs I'm coaching in 2024. It depends, or the guidelines on that recently changed. Let me go ahead and do some research and get back to you. So
yeah, we're not usually thought of as at least the non-QM side of our industry. It's not usually thought of as changing all that often, but it does. The guidelines change. That second home enhancement just came out last week.
Yeah.
So it is ever evolving, and I hate giving a wrong answer, so I will hedge on that one.
Yeah. So that's foreign national lending.
Correct.
Right? So if I'm a loan officer and I don't have access to foreign national lending, especially in certain states. Right. Arizona, Nevada, Florida, the Carolinas,
California's huge.
Right. Probably Idaho.
We get a lot from New York as well.
You do get a lot from New York. Yeah. Certain states, if you're not doing the product, you're missing out.
Correct.
And then think about this. If your realtors don't have marketing that attracts people, because maybe they don't know how the financing works, or they don't have you as a resource, your realtors are missing out. Right. So right now we're still in a market where there's still less transactions than we would like. There's less transactions than there are realtors and loan originators to do them, right? So more of us are fighting over fewer. If you want to create more business for yourself and more opportunities, not just non-QM, but non-QM for national, ITIN, or certain visas. So we touched on foreign national,
right?
And this is all about getting you all thinking in the right direction, getting your wheels spinning. Ultimately, you're going to want to partner with Mike or his team to learn more. You're going to want to do your research. You need to know enough about this so you can go out and market it,
right? So
that you can get someone interested. Once you get someone interested, then you take down their information and you go do your research. Please know you don't have to know the ins and outs of all things foreign national. Know it at a high level, know enough about it to market it and sell it. Get someone interested, then go do your research. Call your AE, call Mike, etc. So we touched on foreign national. Anything high level foreign national that the people should know before we move on to either ITIN or certain visas?
No, just always, whether it's us, hopefully it's us, or whether it's another lender that you're doing those transactions with, just make sure to read the guidelines. There can be variances for certain countries depending on what's going on in the global world right now.
I'm guessing right now we're not doing anything for people from Russia, Iran, or Venezuela.
We actually will. There are some restrictions on some of those countries as far as LTV and those kind of things, and we won't take assets from some of those countries, so they need to be moved out of there. Because
Look at
there
this.
are countries that will repatriate that money. So you got to make sure that that you're structuring those transactions correctly. But
you're my kind of guy. You're like a find a way to yes. The answer is not
yep.
no. The answer is how. You might not
Exactly.
like the path of how, but I
Right.
can at least show you how to do this.
Right.
All right. Very cool. So it's just good to know, regardless if you're partnering with AD or someone else.
Correct.
Just know that there are certain countries where it's easier, certain countries where it's more restricted.
Correct.
And that's going to restrict your loan to value or even restrict where your
How to do the
assets are coming
transaction.
from.
Right.
Yep. All right. Makes perfect sense. Where should we go next? I-10, or do we do like some of the visas?
I mean, you can roll either direction, right? So basically you have your foreign national, which is basically your visitor. And then you have your non-perms, and then you have your permanent citizens, which that's a whole different category. But I would categorize I-10 and non-perm, your temporary visas or, that kind of thing. I would kind of categorize those in the same setting, so we can go either direction.
So let's walk through I-10. Like
Okay.
I actually recently met a group out of like Jacksonville, Florida, and 80% of their branches volume is I-10.
Wow.
Yeah, 80%. So personally, I've never originated an I-10.
Good.
Now, some of that is, me español es muy mal, right? So it's difficult.
That wasn't that bad.
Well, look, I can fake it. Like I can fake it. Like I love to say to Karina, who's bilingual, I'm like, hey, habla conmigo solamente en español,
Okay.
right? And then she starts talking to me in Spanish, and then they realize quickly, like, no, like
I only learned the one phrase.
yeah, like un niño, like dos años, like I'm 2 years old. Speak to me that way, and maybe I can understand you. And if you give me enough time to conjugate verbs in my head, I could probably come up with what I want to say in my like Southern boy twang, which then is going to throw people off. So anyhow, I have not done enough I-10 because it wasn't a market that I served. And I'm sure I-10 is not just for people that are coming from Latin America or the Caribbean.
No.
It's not.
Right.
But me living in Central Florida, most of the I-10 that we did do or that was being done was typically from someone who was coming in from the Caribbean, coming from Latin America, South America, or Central America, right? But walk the audience through. First, explain what is an I-10 loan.
TLOP Unite is not your typical mortgage event. This is the first ever TLOP cruise experience built exclusively for originators. And for 4 days, it's not about the speakers, it's about you. We're talking breakout strategy sessions, real conversations, curated events, and uninterrupted access to a community that helps you grow. If you're serious about taking your career to the next level, this is where you need to be. Space is limited and the price is right. So click the link now and learn more.
So an I-10 loan is simply a loan device or loan product for borrowers who do not have a Social Security number but are reporting their taxes through an I-10 number. So
if someone's here on I-10, are they like, is that DACA? Like, I don't know. I'm purely ignorant. Is that like DACA? Is that I came in through my own means, but I established myself, which is why I don't have a social, but I do have.
Right. So it comes in a lot of variations. Where we
Okay.
commonly see it is they came over and maybe they're waiting on status. So they have an I-10 so they can start paying taxes and start contributing, but don't have either a permanent or non-permanent status yet.
Okay.
So they're still waiting an appearance to be able to get status. That's usually what we see. And we require passport. We need to know, that they're here. Everything is okay. Everything is issued correctly. So, but that's generally what we see, but there is a lot of variations. And that's where, just like you said before, you get your documentation review and go over that.
And not to sound too ignorant, I mean, I do believe if someone asked me, hey, what is DACA? If my kids say, Dad, what's DACA? I would guess, based on the little bit that I know, it's when you have a natural born citizen, but they were born from parents who weren't here
Correct.
legally. So they, as long as the Supreme Court continues to follow a precedent set 150 years ago, they are legal citizens.
Correct.
However, their birth parent came over illegally.
Right.
Which then that was, I believe, if I had to explain to somebody, that's what DACA ended up being. So those people probably have a Social Security number, and they're here legally.
They usually
so
do, and you can usually do those agencies, and that's kind of a different topic.
So we're going FHA conventional on that all day long.
Right.
But if someone's on an I-10, you're doing an I-10 loan. Is that, it's not through FHA, it's not through conventional. It is is it a true non-conforming loan at that standpoint?
We do them as a non-conforming
You
loan.
do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they don't have things like Social Security to be able to pull credit correctly. Like, there's nuance that you can't do with AUS and things like that.
Oh, speaking of credit, do I have to build credit for like both my foreign national loans and my ITIN loans? Do I have to go out and build credit?
Again, it may depend on the borrower.
Okay.
So we do see credit pulled with the ITIN number. You'll know if it's an ITIN if the first number is a 9.
No way.
That's an ITIN number.
I was today years old.
There
Okay.
you
Is
go.
it still the same, like, 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits on an ITIN?
It's the same number of digits.
It is.
What is that? I can't do the math that
Well,
quickly.
yeah,
9 digits.
yeah, well,
but
correct.
it starts with a 9.
Yeah, like your social security number could be 591281234.
Well, 592 actually.
Well, because you're Florida.
Yeah.
I'm 595. My wife's 591.
Okay, there you
Most
go.
of us in Florida, born in the late 70s, early 80s, were 59.
There you go.
something.
All right.
And quite honestly, if you don't, your parents may not even got your social security number. If you were born in 77,
You got later, right.
They probably didn't get it until 82 when you're going off to kindergarten. Whereas today, when your kids were born, we got our
Get
kids'
it at the
socials.
hospital, basically.
Yeah, and I bet your kids probably start with 77.
They do.
Yeah, my kids too, 77, because I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old. You have a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old, and probably a 15-year-old?
Yeah, almost 16.
yeah,
July
okay.
should be 16.
Yeah, but anyhow, rabbit hole. We'll pull ourselves
Another
back.
rabbit hole.
No, but like if I'm doing a loan for a foreign national person, they obviously don't have U.S. credit, but do I have to verify they have Canadian credit or UK credit, or do I have to get like credit reference letters?
So for foreign nationals, you'll get credit reference letters.
Credit reference
usually.
letters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times those just come from banking institutions. They're pretty easy to get generally.
Yeah.
So we don't usually have a problem. What most people don't know is a lot of foreign nationals do have U.S. credit. So it's not uncommon that you pull a credit report and there is a credit card or there's something that pops
How
on the
did they
credit
get it
report.
if they didn't have a social or they didn't have an I-10?
You know what? That is a matter for a credit expert, but I see it all the time because
Hey.
we do require a credit pull. So
Yes.
we want to make sure there's nothing going on that we should know about. So we do
Yes.
pull a credit report, or our clients pull the credit report.
That's
and
good to
send
know
to us.
too. So if
Yeah.
I'm doing a loan for a foreign national person, I'm still going to pull their credit, even if I get blanks. Some people may have credit,
Right.
but that we're gonna check. I guess if they have credit, that's probably a positive
Then
thing.
Generally,
Yes.
not always. 'Cause
Well,
we do
if
have
it's bad
if there
credit.
is a score, we need to
Correct.
qualify the score.
Yes.
But usually it's one or
Yeah.
two pieces of credit, and they usually have great scores, and it's usually not an issue.
Yeah, but if they don't have credit and you're drawing blanks, then you're going to have to get some kind of credit reference letters
Correct.
from their home country.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the I-10 people, I'm guessing because they have an I-10, is there a higher probability that they have some kind of U.S. credit established?
They almost always,
They
unless
almost
it's a
always
recent
do.
issue, they usually have credit issue because they're here. They're
And they're getting
usually buying a
W-2s.
primary. They have equivalency to W-2s. There's tax statements. There's all of that, right? So,
that's a
it's
full
much
doc
easier.
loan.
You can do full doc.
Primary.
We can do them bank statement. We can do them a lot of variations.
Oh, no
but
way.
Yeah, we can.
So
yeah.
I can do an I-10 bank statement loan.
Yeah.
Not going to hold you to it. What's your typical LTV on that?
I think 80 is our cap on that.
Okay, what if it's a full doc?
If it's a full doc, I think it's 80 also. I think we
Okay.
cap I-10s at 80%. Again,
So
that's
ma-
another one that just changed. I think we were 70% until a few weeks ago.
Cool.
So that's actually increased.
Yeah, so you
quite
get
a
more
bit.
aggressive. But I'm guessing my pricing will be slightly better if I go full doc versus bank
It will
statement.
be, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
But I had the ability, if someone's here legally on an
Own a
I-10,
business.
I'm going to pull their credit.
Right.
I'm going to get their income statements.
Right.
But if they own their own business, or maybe they're a gig worker or a tipped worker, or maybe someone paid in cash, then we can still do a bank statement loan for them.
So for bank statements, they need to own a business, right?
Okay,
need
they
be
have to own a
self-employed.
business.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So you have to own a business or be 1099 or just own the business? What if I'm 1099?
Either or.
Either
We-
or.
we- yeah, we
Yeah.
can-
I mean,
we can-
1099 self-employed,
correct.
right? You're a subcontractor. Okay, so
Again, that's one of those depend things, right?
It-
Depends on the structure, depends on other things.
it
But-
depends. Yeah, that
yes.
you know that's the cool thing about non-QM in general is that it's a lot easier to make exceptions on
Absolutely.
a non-QM loan than it is on a conventional conforming loan.
Yeah, we tell people if we believe in the property, we believe in the borrower, we'll find a way to get it done.
I
right?
love
So,
that.
Yeah, we need one of those things.
That's
we need
a-
a good solid value. We need a good solid borrower. We'll find a way to get the loan done.
That was the one thing I loved about commercial lending. Not that I ever worked in commercial lending, but my friends who do.
Right.
Now, the frustrating thing is when you're trying to do a loan for someone who works in commercial lending, trying to explain to them that my
Yeah.
world does not work like your world. There's
Right.
no common sense when you're doing a conventional FHA, VA type loan. In fact, non-QM is probably the closest common
It's close.
sense.
I think it bridges the gap.
Yes, but you sometimes are looking at a slightly more expensive loan or you're looking at a larger down payment.
Correct.
But not always a slightly more expensive. I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff that you guys are doing at AD right now on investor loans.
Yeah.
bank statement loans.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have some of these LLPAs that conventional does, and all of a sudden your rates are competitive, and it's not even a full doc loan.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool. So ITIN, we covered briefly. Anything we didn't cover on ITIN that's important?
Well, the one thing to look at on ITIN borrowers, and we see this a lot, right? Because there's a different number, we often see income documents that don't match up with the ITIN number. So they might be a Social Security number reported through pay stubs, with a different number for the ITIN. So there's sometimes some variance there.
You can work through that or no?
Potentially.
Okay, it depends. All right.
There you go. And then the other one that we see is whether or not they have a passport or they have a way that they got here. So, that doesn't have to be a U.S. passport. It wouldn't be a U.S. passport, or it doesn't have to be a U.S. driver's license. It could be from abroad, but we need some verification to see who they are. So there needs to be a way that they got here, can prove their identity, and then match up some stuff, and we should be good to go.
Yeah, again, ignorance again, but I believe you can only have a U.S. passport if you're a U.S. citizen.
Correct.
Like not even a green card.
Yeah, so it won't be a U.S. passport. I was talking about ID.
Yeah, correct.
So you can get,
Yeah.
in many states, you can get a driver's license without a Social Security number.
You can, yes. But no, I learned that a good friend of mine's born in England, came to the States. His dad married his mom, but his mom had already had him through a bio dad situation. His dad adopted him. However, he's still a British citizen.
Right.
So he was 37 years old. He had spent 30 years living in the U.S., high school, college, all of it. And I remember traveling to Oktoberfest for my 40th birthday. And the dude had a British passport. I'm like, now I later learned, it's like, well, I'm getting my citizenship. I'll have a U.S. passport. Then he gets to carry both, which I guess is really cool. And you get to pick and choose which passport.
Pick the right
you're gonna bring
countries.
with
You can go anywhere in the world without any issues.
Correct. And that's basically what he explained to me. But if someone's here in the U.S. to get a U.S. passport, they're not going to have an ITIN. They're going to have a Social Security number because they're going to be citizens already. Okay, so ITIN is, I'm guessing, a little bit easier to do than a foreign national loan, or are they both?
They usually are, because there's a lot more. There's a lot more availability of documentation, and there's a lot more options as far as like I said, you can do a primary residence, right? So you can do just a regular primary purchase, whereas a foreign national is going to be doing, like I said, a second home or investment property. So there's just more. There's more availability there for the ITIN borrowers.
All right. So then our third type of, we're looking at specifically for this episode, if you're here on a visa, the right visa, you're doing FHA, you're doing conventional all day long. But there are certain visas that you can't.
Yeah, I mean, your non-perms, they can't do FHA financing right now. So if you're here on a temporary visa, then FHA is off the table.
Give me some examples of a not like a temporary visa.
Yeah, it could be a student visa. It could be someone here on a special work permit or a work assignment. So there's a number. I mean, we have the last page of our guidelines is our last several pages. The guidelines is, I think, 5 pages of visa types that are eligible for non-perm, and then the ones that are eligible for foreign nationals. So there's so many different types of visas, and some of them require work permits, some of them don't. There's definitely variance there.
Does that financing vary a whole lot from the ITIN or the foreign national? Is it going to be a higher LTV? Is it going to be easier underwrite, or is it pretty similar?
It's similar.
Okay.
There's usually a little bit more LTV allowed. The pricing is a little bit better. Those kind of things. But as far as the structure of the loans, it's very similar. Just how is the borrower here? What documentation do we need for kind of the borrower part of that, and then property, income, reserves, all that kind of stuff kind of fall in line.
When I'm doing those types of loans, what is the typical max LTV?
For non-perm, again, I think we're at 80%. But
okay.
Again, that's another one that has changed around a lot.
It could be 90 tomorrow.
Right.
It could be 75 tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we see where we're at in the U.S. right now. So, there's changes.
Yeah, our industry's always been dynamic.
Yep.
I mean, I remember learning this industry in 2004. When I learned it, I learned FHA, VA, conventional. That's what I learned. And then some ARM products, some jumbo, but for the most part, that was how I learned it. And even then, I think someone once told me that there's over 14,000 changes per quarter. And now some of those changes are very weird, rare guidelines, like trailing spouse income.
Right.
I've personally funded 2,000 loans in my career. Not once have I used trailing spouse income to qualify, but maybe trailing spouse income changes.
You got that one loan.
Yeah, it changes every 3 years.
Right.
But you have those types of changes happening. Multiply it by 1,000 different scenarios, 10 different products, and all of a sudden it's easy to see where we have 14,000 changes every single quarter.
Right.
So I'm not going to hold you to anything that you say regarding LTV, because I know this industry well enough, and the audience should too. Like, everything's afoot. And when things are afoot, that means they're changing and they're dynamic. They can change in your favor. They can change not in your favor, all based on how really the secondary market is operating. You do loans, but you do loans that Wall Street's willing to buy. If Wall Street's not willing to buy them, you can't do them.
If you're a licensed originator who's closing loans, but you're not consistent, this is for you. If you're brand new or just looking for motivation, trust me, this is not for you. Most LOs don't need more information. They need structure. They need proven processes and somebody to hold them accountable. TLOB's Originator Coaching gives you weekly live coaching, scripts top producers actually use, and step-by-step business systems you can implement immediately. Not someday, we're talking day one. You're not watching videos alone. You're executing in real time with other originators who take this seriously. Right now, you can try it free for 2 weeks. That's 2 full weeks for free. You'll sit in on live coaching calls. You'll get access to the frameworks and see exactly how top producers run their business. If it creates clarity, if it creates momentum, or even if it puts wins on the board, you keep going. If it doesn't, no worries, you can cancel. No pressure at all. Click the link, start the 2-week trial, and finally, build this like a business, not a side hustle.
Yeah, that's where we're in a very positive way and in a very flexible way. We own every part of the manufacture of the loan. So our loans are serviced in-house. They share the floor with me. So half our floor is sales, the other half is servicing. So we service all our deals. We do our own securitization. So we take all these loans to market. We're not passing through any of the stuff that we do. So, performance and how things are going. We're not like trying to just slide a loan into some investor and hope that it doesn't get repurchased. That investor is us.
Nice.
So
nice.
we can't mess around with that stuff, right? So performance and how things are moving in the market is very, very important to us.
All right. So looking at putting a bow on this, we talked foreign national, we talked ITIN, and we briefly discussed, look, if someone is here as a non-permanent resident,
right,
which means they're here legally, they have a visa, but their visa is one in which Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac aren't going to recognize.
Right.
HUD, potentially, they just changed their guidelines a year ago.
Right.
HUD all of a sudden is going to be like, nope, we no longer do those types of loans. You're here to say, hey, look, bad news is you're not going to put down 3.5% the way you would have FHA.
Right.
Good news is I have a solution
We have
for
options.
you. You have options. And I think that's what's important for the audience to know. There are options, and here's a national lender, top 10 lender, that is recognized as being really good at helping originators and brokers like you fund these loans. And these are opportunities in your marketplace that you might not be looking for, only because you're not talking about it, only because you're not marketing it, because your realtors don't know this exists. I mean, for us, bring this type of information to your realtors. Let them start creating marketing. Let them start getting the message out to the communities that they serve, and start creating opportunities that otherwise weren't reaching out to you. Then take down their information, tell everybody it depends, and then reach out to Mike and his team and do your research and find your way to yes.
That's it. The borrowers are there.
The borrowers are definitely there. You probably don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. Do you have a guess at how many foreign national loans?
So I've
these
seen
types of loans that you're doing, whether it's a unit or a volume, whether it's monthly or annually.
For us, it's about 10% of our business. So it's actually a pretty good chunk
10% of your business.
Of our non-QM business.
And you all are doing in non-QM, because you all do qualified too, right?
We do agency,
everything.
government, we do all of it.
Yeah, you had a big acquisition about a year ago, year and a half ago now, that really brought you into the forefront of doing agency business. Right. When I first met you all, it was, it was A&D mortgage back then, not 80 mortgage.
Yep.
We dropped that ampersand.
You get acquisition, you lose the symbols, you just go to letters at that point.
Perfect. But yeah, you all went out. Who'd you acquire?
Flagstar TPO, right? So we got the origination side of it.
Yep. So now you're full scale, but I would guess, will you do 50 billion? Will you do
with the new improvements? We'll probably do more than that. But I think that was the number last year. So we do quite a bit of that.
So
business.
You're doing $5 billion in either foreign national ITIN or some of the loans for the non-permanent residents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
we do quite a bit, and just overall in the market. I mean, again, the stats I've seen is on foreign investment into U.S. real estate. So it's not how many are getting financing and all that kind of stuff. It's about 30% of the market. So there's a lot of foreign investment coming into the U.S.
Yeah, some's paying cash, but for those that need financing, they should look y'all's way. So what I was going to ask you is, did we miss anything? Is there anything on a very high level to give the people what they need to go out and serve their communities better?
I think you gave the best advice. Don't turn away a borrower because of a visa or because it's not an AUS approvable deal, right? Take another step and make sure that there is an avenue for them to be here legally, and then look and see if there's a transaction there. Don't give up a transaction. As you said, they're not exactly falling out of the trees right now. So don't turn away a transaction just because a borrower isn't a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and also don't just think of foreign national as people who English is their second language.
Right. Because
you have Canada, you have the UK, you have Australia, and you have South Africa as 4 countries that are all purchasing real estate in the U.S. Canada number 1, UK number 2. Right. So even if you're not from those countries yourself or your family is, and it doesn't mean that you can't become an expert where you now have maybe created a small niche for yourself where Canadians are looking to you for their financing. People from the UK or Ireland are looking at you for their financing. Then obviously if you're from a certain area, your family's from a certain area, you speak that language. I mean, it's a freaking layup if you're willing to lean into it. All right. So Mike, these are my last 2 questions. I prompted you up front. They're not going to be mortgage related. Okay. What is one piece of advice that you're giving to the next generation that you had to learn the hard way? And the next gen could be people on your staff, because you have people on your staff that are 10 to 20 years younger than you, or your own children that you had to learn it the hard way, but you want to make sure they don't have to.
Well, from the business perspective, yes. I mean, that's what I do day in and day out. My team is primarily, this is their first job in this industry. So we do a lot of time training. When I talk training, I'm thinking guidelines and systems and that kind of thing. But from the professional side, working with salespeople on what not to do. What I did early in my career, I think we maybe even had this conversation before, is when an issue came up, I couldn't be found. That is a huge issue. And it took me a few years to kind of figure that out. You come back around, is everything okay? After the loan funded, I come back around and try to weasel my way back in the relationship. So I had to learn that one. So that's one of my first lessons to my salespeople.
That's a great lesson.
Face the storm. It's obviously so much better. And that's for originators too. When you're working with your referral partners, you're working with title companies and the other parties involved in the transactions, just face the issue, take ownership, and just face the issue, face forward. That's kind of my business thing that I'm working on.
I love that. I mean, we coach it at TLOPS Originator Coaching, where I'll tell people, whether I'm they're elite coaching student, we're getting one-on-one, they're part of one of my boot camps, or they're just a part of the community.
Right.
We do these community calls every Tuesday and Thursday, and something we always do is we open up every call with tell me what you need. Then we teach, but then we always close out a call with a Q&A session. And the Q&A does not have to be about what we taught. And so it's frequently people will ask questions, hey, how do I deal with this scenario? How do I deal with this particular situation? And I will remind everyone, it's what you just said. You are judged by how you react when things go wrong.
Because they will.
We have our careers because things go wrong. If everything went right, they wouldn't need us. Like our daughters at 18 and 16 years of age could do this job if everything went right.
Right.
So things are supposed to go wrong. I win a relationship by how I react when things go wrong, not when everything goes right.
Correct.
Right. And that was a big lesson that you weren't heeding early on in your career that you later learned.
Yeah, I didn't have that mentorship. So,
yeah. Second question, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a YouTube channel, what's something that you dig right now that helps make you a better professional? Like it's a book you read, it's a podcast you tune into, or like one of your favorite YouTube channels?
So we just went through have you ever read 4DX, 4 Disciplines of Execution?
I have not.
It's an older book, and it has to do with goal setting for teams.
Yeah.
So coming out of the new year, that was a big thing for us, is how are we going to look at what this year is going to look like. So just went through that book series and setting goals for my sales team. So that's the most immediate impact that I've done recently. It's a great book. It's Franklin Covey from years ago, but recent renditions have been done. I thought it was a great book, and it really helped on that. You always come into a new year thinking like, how am I going to do goals? Are we going to talk units or revenue, or what are we talking about? And this helps you really kind of isolate one very, very important thing and just focus on that. So
and it's called 4DX.
4DX, 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Awesome. How about this? If people want to get a hold of you, right? They want to learn more about AD Mortgage, potentially get signed up if they're not already signed up. whether you're a lender wanting to deliver loans on the correspondent level, or you're a broker just wanting to sign up with AD Mortgage. How do people do that?
Well, obviously the website, right? We have a tremendous amount of resources on just admortgage.com.
Okay.
There's a lot of free resources there that people can access. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. It's just michael.pearson@admortgage.com. Very simple.
Beautiful. Are you on LinkedIn, Instagram?
LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Am I there regularly? No, I'm not.
Okay, so LinkedIn's
I spend
your
a lot
jam?
of time on LinkedIn. That's where I'm at.
And are you Mike or Michael Pearson on LinkedIn?
Michael Pearson.
Michael Pearson on LinkedIn with AD Mortgage. Y'all, I don't know if you're tuning in on Apple or Spotify, but if you are, do us a favor. If you like content like this, give us a 5-star review. 5-star reviews is how the algorithm knows to put this content in front of other people just like you who would love this type of content. If you're on Spotify and Apple, but you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, I'm going to tell you something. You're missing out. Not only can you peer into Mike's beautiful green eyes, but it's where you can go and find 400 additional resources. I'm talking sales training, business coaching, just a slew of free resources specifically for people that are either buying real estate, selling real estate, or more specifically, you're a loan originator. So I always ask, go to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit subscribe. Also, YouTube's where you can comment, right? If you disagree with something I said, if you want to ask Mike a question, those YouTube comments, we actually check and we actually respond. And if you yourself are a broker or a loan originator and look, you're tired of trying to figure it out on your own, you want to come be a part of a community, you want to learn from top producers, we have started and we are running the #1 value from business coaching in the mortgage industry. It's called TLOPS Originator Coaching. All of the information is on our website, tloponline.com. Click the coaching button. There's several ways that you can come and invest with us so we can invest in your future success. And lastly, if you're around, we're doing a really cool event this September. It's the TLOP Unite Caribbean Takeover. It's going to be the coolest mortgage experience ever done in this industry, September 14th through 18th. It's a cruise. It's masterminding. It's networking. It's an experience. And yes, we're going to also host a one-day sales conference on the boat. But we only have room for 100. So we have 100 cabins.
Get in.
We're just now officially launching this. I've been talking about it for a month, but the marketing, the advertising is coming out. That information right now is all found on the website, tloponline.com. He's Mike Pearson with AD Mortgage. I'm Dustin Owen with the Loan Officer Podcast. That is all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.